Hello everyone and welcome to today's live stream. My name is Sean Wilson. I am the Associate QA Lead at Firaxis, and I am going to be your host today. Joining us today, we have Ed, who will be going over what we're going to be going through today for today's live stream, as well as Tim, who you may remember for the last live stream when they had a head-to-head competition.
So it's Global Civ 7 launch day. Super exciting. We're glad to be here with everybody. If you are off playing Civ 7 right now and like, oh, I'm too busy to watch the live stream, we will forgive you. But you could also put the live stream on the background while you're playing your game today. So, if you want to double dip like that, that's good with us too. In terms of what we're going to do today, we have noticed, because our game has been in advanced access for almost a week now, that there's some things that people are stumbling upon. We've made a lot of changes with Civ 7. We've had a lot of years to be thinking about what we wanted to improve upon in the formula. So in general, we know that our community is taking a little bit of time to adjust to the changes like they do with any new Civ game. But we want to sort of highlight some areas where we specifically have noticed that there are difficulties. So we formatted this whole stream to kind of work around showing you what we came up with as the 10 biggest problem spots that we want to explain as you work through Antiquity.
Now, speaking about the community, the game that we got put together here, we had a live poll on our Discord for what Civ leader combo we will be playing. So if you are a Civ fan, go ahead and check out our Discord, and this is where you can engage in both delivering feedback as well as other live events later down the line. So if you go ahead and scan this right here on your phone, it'll take you to the Discord, and this is where you can talk about the game, engage with other members of the community, and we'll be able to go through and see all your feedback.
And we actually have been looking at that, and I got on there this week, and it's really cool to have an official Discord. Right now, we're getting all the devs signed up so they can be in there participating with everybody, but we have lots of plans for how we can directly engage with the community. We'll talk about some of those later today.
Right. Awesome. Now, for the game that we're going to be running today, now, Ed, I believe this isn't the first time you've talked about doing a succession game. So how about you go ahead and give us the rules on what the game's going to be looking like and a little bit of history about the game.
Okay, well, let's start way back. I'm wearing my Civ 5 hoodie, but this goes further back than Civ 5. It goes back to when I was working on Civ 3. As a contractor to Firaxis, I worked on the Civ 3 expansion pack called Conquest. It was the second expansion pack for Civ 3, and it was 9 different historically themed scenarios, each covering a different slice of history. 3 of those scenarios were ones that I helped on the design of, and my favorite of those was the Age of Discovery scenario, where it was European civilizations realizing they could get across the Atlantic Ocean and get to the New World. Civilizations over already in the New World being challenged by these new European invaders, and it was a really cool scenario. We actually reprised it again for Civilization V.
And might sound familiar to anybody who's in Exploration Age.
Yes, and then we really are reprising it again in Civilization VII with the Exploration Age and the addition of treasure fleets, because this scenario did have the first occurrence, I believe, of a treasure unit in a Civilization game. So I went back to Civ Fanatics, which is our great fan website, which keeps track of all sorts of archival discussions and games and so forth. And you can see here on screen that in May 2004, not 2024, not 2014, we're going way back to 2004, we went ahead and I proposed that we play what's called a succession game. Succession game is a little bit like a hot seat game, a little bit like a co-op multiplayer game, but it's something that you can do with just passing a single player save around. The general format is one player kicks off the team, plays 10 turns, stops playing, hands the save to the next player, and then that player takes 10 turns. And if you want to check in with the rest of the team and think about what the strategy should be before you take your 10 turns, that's fine. So this was actually a pretty common thing for how Civ Fanatics like to play games back with Civ 3, and we thought it was You know, I really wanted to dive in on the scenarios I just worked on with some players, so that's why I proposed doing this. Now, one of the things I love about Succession game is you can make extra rules. So there are called style rules, and if you saw on that graphic, the style rules were to try to play as much like Spain as possible. Right. So if you could actually do things like keep all of the Protestants out of Europe or kick them out of Europe and make sure that Europe was all Catholic as well as the New World being dominated by Spain, that's an even better thing to do. And we actually were able to do that in this game. There were special rules about what we had to do if the Netherlands declared war on us to reflect the 80 Years' War that was fought between Spain and the Netherlands during this time period. So anyways, we followed all these rules, and we were actually able to, if anyone wants to go in and see all 5 pages of discussion forum content as we went through it, we were able to win this game handily. We were actually even able to send a Spanish Armada and take out England. So the reason that this occurred to me now is Tim and I could just kind of go through the top tips that we want to share with people, sort of like we're teaching a tutorial, but we're super competitive guys, and we just had a multiplayer match that Tim won, and I like to get revenge on him. So we decided, let's turn this into a competition. So Tim and I brainstormed the 10 things that people are bumping up against right now that we want to go ahead and show to people. And we're going to use those as the transition points for when we pass control of our game from one of us to another. So you can see the list of the 10 items that we brainstormed here. They're not necessarily in the order that we're going to hit them in our stream today.
Now, real quick, before we get too into the weeds about what we're going to be playing with our game, we do actually have a picture of you back from 2004 that we would like to be bringing up. So before we get into today's game,
here I am in 2004 with my son and 2 nephews, and we're playing D&D, and I am game mastering that.
You know, back at that time, 2004, I was 5 years old. So very different.
You weren't even ready for D&D.
Yeah, I wasn't even ready for D&D. So very different time.
Tim, were you playing D&D back in 2004?
I was. It was a lot less cool to be doing than it is now, but it was happening. We just tried to not let anybody know.
Yeah.
So, all right, so now let's go ahead and jump back into what we're talking about with today's game. So yeah, as you were talking about, we're going to be changing a little bit of the rules, and so let's go through what some of those rules are going to look like and some of the objectives we're going to be hitting.
Okay, so if we look back at the objective list, what will happen is I'll let Tim go ahead and start the game. As we said before, we're playing as Machiavelli Rome because that's what the community chose for us. And Tim will start out on turn 1, and each turn that he takes in order to get to an objective will cost him a point. You want to have the lowest possible score, so you want to be really efficient. You want to get to an objective in no time at all, so it doesn't cost you many turns. As soon as Tim reaches an objective, he'll slide the keyboard back over to me, and I'll have to reach one of these objectives. And what'll be fun is as we get to each objective, we can describe how it works, maybe what aspects of it the community is having a bit of a challenge with. And so we'll be learning some of those cool tips for playing Civ 7 as we're going through. Now, Tim and I tried this out, and we decided that there was a special scoring type of situation that we wanted to account for, and I'll let Tim explain that.
Right, as a sort of a come-from-behind mechanic to keep things interesting, I think we decided that if you manage to get 2 or more of these objectives on the same turn, we just have your current score. So remember, this is golf rules, the lowest score wins. So even if one of us is getting a little far behind, there's always a way to get back in if we manage to do a high-risk, high-reward move.
And we've tried like the first 15 turns of this a couple times, so we know that this should work, but as you know, on the last stream, this is totally unscripted. We don't really know who's going to end up as the winner. We have not played this all the way out, so we'll just have to see how it goes.
All righty, so before we go ahead and jump right on into the game, I just want to give one extra shout out to our fans. Thank you very much for being the best fans in gaming. You can check out Civilization VII on all platforms. We couldn't have gotten here without you, and thank you very much. Now, let's go ahead and jump right into this game. We're going to be playing as Machiavelli Rome, which was decided in a community poll on our Discord, as we had up earlier. Go ahead and jump into that Discord so you can participate in future stuff like this.
Yeah, we see that we're not really surprised that Rome was picked. They've proven to be very popular so far. Machiavelli is a bit of a surprise, though. I don't think he's one of the most popular leaders that we have, but he's quite fun. And we're going to be using his ability to gain some extra influence per age and get some gold going on will be great. And using the ability to levy troops from city-states that you are not the suzerain of can enable us to do some interesting backstabbing here, maybe. And the fact that we're playing as Rome, I think we're going to play out a little bit of the internal struggle of Rome here. We might do a little bit of sabotaging of each other here as well.
So a historically accurate Rome
Yeah.
with the battle of internal. Well, how did you put it, Ed? It was
So it's Consul Tim and his allies versus Consul Ed and my Roman faction. And we both think that we should be the consul who's really directing things, but lo and behold, the Senate is going to make us have to take turns here today.
That's right, a power sharing agreement, tenuous power sharing agreement. So right off the gate, one of the early objectives that I'm going to try to go for here is getting a scout and using it to find a discovery. And this is something that you are almost certainly going to want to do in the early game. We're going to follow our economic advisor here. And this is entirely new to Civ 7, is this ability to use search on your scouts. And so what that's going to do is reveal extra tiles, but it's also going to reveal any discoveries that are nearby. So we'll see if I get lucky. And aha, so we have some wreckage up here and a cairn and more wreckage. Lots of
Wow, that's a
wreckage
good
around
find.
here. So this is definitely something you want to do early on in the game. It's very helpful. And it's new. It takes a little getting used to. If your muscle memory is just send the scout out and move, you're going to want to work in these search functions every once in a while. And that brings up sort of a question about how should auto explore work.
Right, so we have seen this over and over again in the community. They want auto explore. We're going to give auto explore in Civ 7. We thought a lot about how we should do auto explore. And what we basically came to the conclusion several times was that auto explore is going to have to be different this time. We have these new scout functions. The scouts are the units that you want to put on auto explore, but they work differently now. Do you want, are you using them with the search function to go and find discoveries? Are you just using them the way you would traditionally in a previous Civ game where you're trying to reveal as much of the map as possible? We wanted players to try this new functionality out, form opinions about it, and then actually inform us as to how auto explore should be implemented. So we're going to be doing that. We were talking before about our new Discord channel and how we're going to engage with the players. We're going to set something up there so you can directly give us feedback on how you think auto explore should work. Just as an example, I could see that some people might say we should have two different types of auto explore. I want an auto explorer that maximizes popping as many discoveries as possible. There might be a different type of auto explorer that's I want to reveal as much of the map as possible. Might even be one I want to find players as quickly as possible. Or maybe there's just, let's keep it simple. Let's just have one type of auto explorer and it's good at a little combination of all those things. But we really have to think this through. And auto explore is a functionality that takes some of our AI team's bandwidth to get it implemented and put in the game. And so when the question of auto explore came up before the game launched, I'm like, I really want the community to understand the new scout. I really want the community to play with it and give us feedback. And let's save as many of those AI programming cycles as we can to just make the AI as strong as possible in release. So that's what the plan has been up until now, but it is time. It is time to get auto explore underway and the best approach for it figured out. So help us out here.
Absolutely.
And so a reminder to hop onto our Discord to check out, to engage with that and give your feedback. Now, I just heard that on Twitch right now it is a 55% voting for Ed and 45 rooting for Tim.
Rooting
Now-
for or predicting a
Pre-
victory?
I
by-
should say predicting,
Okay.
yes. Now,
You're
there
rooting for an
was
underdog, or
there was in the last game, we remember Tim stole the victory in the modern age on
Briefly,
age
I was
transition.
considered the likely winner.
Yes.
But it was, yes,
It
right
was
at
Tim
the
who
very...
stole it. So maybe in this rematch we'll see an upset, or maybe it'll go the same way as last time.
And just so everyone can be clear on the scoring, so Tim took 2 turns to get to that use of the auto explorer that we explained. Not the auto explorer, the discovery finding. And so our score is Tim has 2, and I have to do my first round now to see what I can do. So if we can put the objective list back up, everyone can think about what the other choices I have in terms of things that I might like to do. And the most likely thing that I'll probably want to go for is all the way at the bottom of the list, where it's found a Pantheon and build an altar. We specifically make that build an altar a requirement here, because a lot of times your Pantheon in Civ 7 doesn't help you until you have an altar in place. So that's what we want to reinforce there. Don't just get your Pantheon and forget about the altar. Make sure your altar comes online as well. Now, there's some other things I might be able to do. I might be able to find an independent village and disperse it. I might be able to find an independent village and suzerain it into a city-state, because I am playing as Machiavelli, so I have that extra influence. I'm getting 3 extra influence a turn. That might be something I can do very quickly here, especially on quick speed. So I noticed that Tim did not help me out at all, because he put my research on sailing. And I mean, okay, there's a small river leading to a navigable river that eventually leads to the sea here, but I really don't need sailing right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to animal husbandry, which will eventually let us get a slinger. And one of our other objectives was to use focus fire with a commander, and we're going to have a ranged unit to be able to do that. Let's go ahead and try to encourage anything we can do towards getting culture, and marble will help us get culture. The reason I'm doing that is because I have to get through chiefdom first. Once I finish that, then I can go and get the civic that unlocks the Pantheon. So that'll be a great way to get towards that.
Right. I did find several discoveries for you, though.
Yes. And there are 2 up here to the northwest, 1 due north of me. I'm going to head northwest. Go there. And discoveries are really useful in terms of giving you that boost you need in some direction. You get to pick which direction you want to go. I need culture, so like a discovery that lets me have culture right now would be really, really useful. And because those discoveries are so useful, I'm not sure if Tim put me onto a bad line of thought by giving me a scout to be built, but honestly, I think the scout's still going to be useful because we can find discoveries in all directions.
Even
Yeah.
in a standard game, I always find myself trying to build 2 scouts because the discoveries can give a lot of bonuses, the extra vision it'll give, but also even though our settlements are fairly vulnerable on their own, especially in early game, I still like to get those 2 scouts because there's not a lot of threat early because everyone just has the scouts, and scouts can't capture settlements.
You said
so.
not a lot of threat, but we just revealed a hostile
That's
independent.
true.
So I'm not sure about what you're saying here, Sean, but we also have the choice between science and happiness, and I wanted either gold or culture, and I didn't get either one of those, but I'm going to go with happiness as being somewhat useful because a celebration could channel us in the right direction, especially if we pick a government that helps us with culture.
So who is this independent that we
Yeah, if we
discovered?
hover
What
the
village are
name,
they
we
from? Ooh, interesting. No idea where they are.
Yeah,
To go
and
find
they
them.
just appeared in from the, I think, northwest, so they're probably quite a bit further out there. All right, let's go to the discovery that they are on top of, the cairn here. Oh,
They
they're not
are.
far away. They're a cultural independent. And we have the choice, now that we have found this cairn that is commemorating the fallen dead of a conflict. If we had more gold, we could commission a cemetery and earn culture from that, but we're going to have to move on and just take some gold for it. This gold could be very valuable very soon while I'm trying to get an altar up and going. Now, the other question is, do I have enough influence to start befriending them? And I need 115, so I'm quite a ways off from being able to start that.
And they're hostile to you, so it takes a little longer to befriend a hostile independent versus one that starts out friendly.
Now, the
You're
next
gonna
question
pivot.
is my third build here.
Now, you could use that granary to extend your population onto one of those resources. But since we currently have the 2 scouts, no warriors, once armies do start getting built up, that would leave us very vulnerable.
I
So
like your idea of building a granary here, displacing this
Yep.
improvement,
and then you
getting to grow the
extend-
city.
Yeah, you're not gonna be able to go
So
straight
it'll
on.
push it. Oh yes, you have to wait until the building is finished. But
Right.
so now, once you get
But
your next growth event,
I can get out
you'll
there
be
to
able to
the
get on out there.
zone,
Yeah.
yep.
And I should add that if Rome falls on your watch, that is
A loss.
immediate elimination.
Yeah, it's bad for both of us in terms of, as the 2 consuls of Rome, we didn't uphold the bargain to make Rome a civilization that stood the test of time. But on the other hand, I think the person who's actually playing when it falls has got to take the
Take the blame.
main hit.
It looks
there.
like I might have sabotaged you here because your growth event came before you were able to
okay.
finish
We can
that
keep-
building.
keep picking up good tiles and
Food and
overall improving.
production.
Yeah.
Nice. Especially once the granary does happen, it's going to give
Okay,
you a
so
win
now
as
we have
well
a
as-
second independent, also hostile, and both of them are on our borders. So those independents, sort of just like the way the barbarian scouts worked in Civ 6, they're going to know about us. They could think about whether or not they want to start building up a raid. If I time this right, all the raids will be hitting right as Tim is in charge. But we'll see if I can pull that off.
Yeah, they will only attack you if they have found you. So
Right.
if you can take out the scouts quickly,
Now,
then
yeah,
that
it
can
does look
sometimes
like
save you.
It's 2 scouts that have found you. So
Oh, and they're from different villages.
yes, there might be a big attack coming up. A reminder: if Rome falls, then both of you lose. Points not
Yeah.
really mattering in that one.
Well, I think what we decided is that the person playing is the bigger loser.
Oh,
at that
okay,
point, so.
okay.
Losing the most.
All right. So now we have gotten to a third discovery, and this time we have the choice between science production or influence. And I'm Machiavelli. I love influence. I just, in terms of role playing who I am right now, I think I have to take the influence there.
Do you think you're going to use that influence on the independent power there, or are you going to hold off
I don't.
until
It's
a
not
later
enough
one?
to start influencing them. Yeah, I'm just going to see how things develop.
It also looks like that on YouTube, it's leaning closer to Tim as the victor. So on Twitch, it is Team Ed, and on YouTube, it is Team Tim.
It's early right now. I have played for 5 turns, so I'm racking up some score. So right now, Tim definitely has the early lead, but we knew that was going to pretty much be the way this developed. Now, I am within. Did just finish chiefdom. I'm starting on mysticism right now. It's 8 turns out for me to be able to select my Pantheon. In 8 turns, if I could accumulate enough gold, so I could like buy an altar right away, then in 8 turns I could hand things off to Tim. If I could find a friendly independent, I could suzerain them quickly. I would want to then think about that sort of double move we were talking about, where I could do both putting the altar in place and suzerain the city-state on the same turn and get my score halved. So we're going to have to see how things go, but definitely a lot of possibilities here.
So which government do we think we'll be picking? Now, we are Rome, so a classical republic would be very...
I think in terms
on
of
theme.
succession game style points, we have to choose the classical
Yeah, I
republic, so we're
agree.
gonna go with that.
which also is actually beneficial to what you're trying to achieve, because the plus 20% culture is going to be able to, when you get that celebration, is really going to help you out with moving forward.
Ooh.
Okay, so now we have a narrative event because I believe this one's probably triggered by the Classical Republic selection as Rome. So a newly elected governor has earned the people's fervor. With her impassioned speeches, she seems adept at riling up the people. So we can either get a warrior or a scout. And with,
I don't know. You could maybe find a friendly independent.
yes, I'm going to go with a scout. It's the riskier move for sure, but I want to get scouting going to the south and west. So
Now, Nice Guy Soda Lover 420 is asking, what difficulty are y'all playing on for this?
So we did not change the difficulty, so we're still on Governor at quick speed. And one other thing to note is we are playing on patch 2,
Yes.
which just released yesterday. I'll let Tim talk a little bit about patch 2 as I dive back into the play a little bit here.
And you can see our map seed there as well if you want to play along or try out this map after. You can just use that map seed when you're setting up your game. And yeah, patch 2 came out yesterday on PC, and we pulled some things forward. I know when we showed the roadmap on the last stream, we had the 1.1.0 patch. That is still coming down the road, but we found some fixes that we thought we could pull forward safely and get to you guys a little bit faster and get more of your feedback, so we can get that virtuous cycle going that every Civ game experiences when we launch.
All right, now on to the game here. It looks like you've found the northern coast. Still looking around, haven't found any new city-states. But we're almost at that granary, and then we should be getting a growth event soon. And 1 turn for the growth event, 2 turns for the granary.
Great.
So right now we're just continuing to explore the map, using 1 step to move and the other for
No
the search function.
discoveries. There.
Oh, there's a coastal discovery. Wait, but you turned off sailing.
Tim is telling me I should have stuck with sailing because I could then get the coastal discovery, and there's a certain logic to that. But, let's see. This third scout doesn't have a whole lot for him to find, but I'm not sure if I can sneak him past the independent here.
Looks like there's a discovery by that fish as well. I don't know if there's a land bridge up to that
Yeah,
campfire.
that's-
There might not be.
Yeah,
Lucky.
That'll work out.
Now, we have a question from the real Zephyrd. His question is, will the recommended civs and unlocks for leaders change as new civs and leaders come out?
Almost certainly, yes. As new DLCs and as new civs and leaders get released, that's really going to flesh out those historical pathways. I would imagine probably unlocks are going to be additive. I don't know that we would be removing unlocks, but
Yeah,
we'll
the
see.
theory has been that if you add up unlocks from civs and leaders and unlocks from gameplay, every civ has 4 unlocks, in the Exploration of Modern Age has 4 unlocks. We knew that it might be harder and harder to count on those unlocks being in the game as we added more leaders and civs in, just because the chance that a certain leader or civ is in the game is going to go down. So we have always intended that civs would start getting 5 unlocks and then 6 unlocks, and you'll see that very soon as DLC starts to drop.
Yeah, and again, on that note with feedback, if you guys are finding that certain civs are, getting unlocked all the time, then that's something we can adjust. Ooh,
Now it looks like we found the Torres del Pond.
Yep, that's down in the Tierra del Fuego, down in the Chile, Argentina area down there. And we had that's returning from Civ 6. But it's very cool mountain range. Luckily, we can skirt around it to get to our discovery.
Now, do we want to go ahead and show off some of those yields for our viewers, for the natural wonder there?
Sure.
And if you hover over the tile, so that's the yields that apply to the tile, but then by hovering it, we can see the unique effect that wonder also provides an addition, which in this case, land units will ignore rough terrain for the rest of the game if they come up adjacent to this
Actually,
natural wonder.
why don't I move my scout up adjacent to it?
Well, the scout already does.
So yeah, that
ignore,
doesn't.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
that's true.
let's-
If it was a warrior, it'd be a good
Right.
move.
Zoom in one more time on that wonder.
So
Awesome.
nice.
Turn the wheels off.
Yeah, look at that.
We
Big
even-
shout out to our art team for just having
Are
absolutely.
those condors flying around it
I believe
because it's from
so.
the Andes? I think it
so
might
cool.
be. Very cool.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Ed. Alrighty, so yeah, as you mentioned, your scouts already can ignore the rough terrain.
Take a peek this way. And ready to go to turn.
Oh, we met someone.
Ooh, Napoleon.
He's coming in from the west.
Je suis Napoléon, sur cette terre pour déterminer le sort du monde.
So, I think I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see, do I want to save my influence? I think I have enough to work on independent, but I still only have hostile independence. And I've only found one of their home villages. So it might be interesting to see what we can work out with Napoleon. So I'm gonna give him a friendly greeting.
Reminder, as Machiavelli, we get gold whenever a proposal is accepted or rejected. So we can kind of play
And
around
that's what
with
I'm
that
gonna
positive,
try to
negative.
do now. So I'm gonna try to turn influence into gold to help me
Awesome.
on purchasing that altar. So I'm going to go with the open markets endeavor, and for only 40 influence, it's just a handful of what I have. Hopefully, not only will I get more gold per turn out of it, but if he accepts it because of my Machiavelli bonus, I actually flat up get gold out of that. He only supports it, so I will get the 2. Let's see, supported. Oh, he supported it. Yes.
6
So
per turn each.
yeah. Okay.
Also should have given
So
a
you-
little boost.
All right. So now, let's see. I am 2 turns away from completing mysticism, but I'm not within 2 turns of gold for building the altar. So I'm going to have to keep pressing forward, and I think.
Let's see what's on that discovery. There might be some gold up there.
Yeah.
Culture, though.
Yep. So this will finish off mysticism for me. I'll absolutely want to do
There
that.
is another world,
And
but
There we
it
go.
is in
Now
this one.
we can go ahead and pick which
get some more gold going.
Pantheon we want, but we still need that altar to actually get the bonuses from it.
Right.
For most of them. There's a couple where you don't need the altar.
Okay, so part 1 of this step is choosing a pantheon. One thing we want to show you about that is almost every single belief requires an altar. There is one exception to that, which is the god of healing, which does not require an altar to be built, but anything else you have on this list is going to require an altar. I'm playing as Machiavelli. I love influence. There's so many things you can do with it. So I think he is a big fan of the city patron goddess, and we're going to select that.
Yeah, let's say the Pantheon bonuses are first come, first serve. So it looks like we were the first player in this game to found a Pantheon. So we got first choice.
So now we can pick where we want to build that altar. But as mentioned, I believe previously, the altar doesn't have specific adjacencies that we can really play off of, so we kind of can put it just anywhere.
And normally I put it where my palace is, but, and I think actually this is the right move because this granary is next to 2 resource tiles. We'll want to probably put a science building there as
Well,
we
we've got
develop.
another double science adjacency next to it too. So the reason why that +1 science and +1 culture is available there when placing is that the palace has a quarters adjacency,
Right.
and a quarter is when you have 2 buildings on the same tile. So getting your early warehouse buildings down around your palace can help you get an early boost to your science and your culture.
Well, I don't want to help you too much. So we're going with my palace move. All right. So what's next? We've played this out before, and I've started discipline next, and that really helped Tim because he had a commander ready to go. So I'm not going to help Tim this time that directly, and we're going to start learning about Roman basilicas.
All right, and I believe, so you got your altar down with the Pantheon.
It's requiring 7 turns.
Oh, I see. I
so
thought we
it's not
purchased
time
that first.
to
Yeah.
switch it. Now let's look at the purchase cost though. So the altar right now is for 240 purchase cost. One thing that is a change that's recent enough that Tim and I just realized it went in this week is that as you work on producing a building, it actually also reduces the gold cost of it, which is a cool way to have those two yields sort of not fight with each other. So we're going to work on building that altar, but we're actually going to purchase it somewhere before those 7 turns are up.
Oh, here's some
Oh, here
hostile
comes some warriors.
independents.
Okay, so what we're going to say here is that Rome is not necessarily happy with me as a consul. I have not built a single military unit. They're hostile barbarians on our gate. What am I possibly doing? They're going to recall all my scouts back to Rome because if they scout, they might find something useful for Tim. And we're going to just pull them back and try to survive these turns until the altar is built, and then hand Tim a messy situation.
Yes, the classic lot of the incoming consul.
And why not even make
Oh, you
Napoleon
wouldn't do
mad?
that.
It's a very Machiavellian move.
All right.
We played nicer when we were practicing, and we were saving some punches here.
All right, so we have an alert for the defenseless settlement here.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That does
true.
seem like a problem
That
for
is
me.
a problem too. All right, I can't make it die so badly that we
Yeah.
both lose the
The
game.
scouts will survive long
But
enough.
Tim's going to have
get
to
some
scramble
warriors.
a bit, I believe.
So far, we've only seen the one, but
All right,
Yeah.
let's throw a scout in front of him to try to at least slow him down a little bit.
Yeah, and they will prefer to pillage tiles before they start attacking the city center. But
I'll go ahead and put you back on sailing.
can you give me
hey,
that discovery?
you're lining
huh?
them up for the discovery there.
Let's see. Can you buy it yet? Probably not.
Which discovery are you talking about?
The one
coastal
up in the coast.
Yeah, yeah.
The
Oh,
coastal
that's
discovery
true.
by the
That's-
horses.
I'm
so-
not worried about that. That's true. Okay. So let's once again check the cost of the altar. And so the purchase cost is down to 148. We might be able to purchase it next turn. We'll see.
We got that one scout bravely defending the front lines.
Looks like we can't quite. One more turn. Put him on lookout, which is the other scout special move. This one down to 52 health, but what the heck, he'll go and
He
look
can
out some
defend
more.
at least
Yes, he's
one
still-
more hit before dying. Now, I like to use the scout lookout ability when I move my commanders around. Commanders, when they're packed together, are very vulnerable. So I'll have a scout go out in front, use lookout fairly regularly to make sure that there's no surprises while I'm moving that commander.
All right, I think you're going to be able to cancel that production and buy it now. Yeah, I think you have to take it out of the...
You need
Yeah.
to take it out of queue. There it is.
Oh, okay.
All right, so I was
Okay.
able to hit our second objective with the Pantheon and altar on turn 15. Tim used up the first 2 turns of the game, so I have now added 13 to my score. So that's going to be a challenge, but hopefully Tim takes a while to get to an objective given the fact that Rome is in a bit of trouble right now. And we will start a scout
Oh,
there and go.
that's great. Yeah, it seems that we're taking over at a bit of a low point in Roman history here. That's okay.
So for those who are just now hopping in, what we have going on is a succession game where we have our two players here, Ed and Tim, going head to head in kind of battling over who gets control of Rome and when to try and achieve different objectives. We were able to put together who we're playing, which is Machiavelli of Rome, through our Discord, which we can pull up again real quick. Go ahead and scan that, and it'll link you to our Discord, and that is where you can engage in future polls, as well as give feedback to the designers about what you're seeing in Civ 7. So now Tim has hands on the game. Ed just got a Pantheon set up with the altar with a score of 13. Tim is in the lead, but now Tim is in a pretty sticky situation trying to survive the
He just got
city-state
denounced by
onslaught.
Napoleon.
This wasn't me, Napoleon. What do we do here? I guess
You can spend. You have enough influence to.
I do. But
I
think I'm gonna
would
need that
recommend
influence.
rejecting, because in most cases, if they're denouncing, they're looking for war.
They are.
And you're already in a sticky situation.
Well, by the time he gets here, I might not be in charge anymore.
That's true.
We'll see if we can make that work. We've got extra culture. If we get our unique commander out here as fast as possible and achieve
You're gonna try to get the focus
the
fire.
focus fire objective, we might hand things back to Ed rather quickly. We'll see. We do need to not die, though.
We have had streams end terribly before, and we don't want that to happen again,
Yeah,
too.
we have a history now of, what's this? Comes pearls. That's really not going to help me with the mode
Now-
of gold.
We have a question and comment from Epiphysis. For certain winning conditions that are later going to be able to be can be turned on and turned off, how are the AI going to adapt to such changes? And the comment is that they're thanking us for recognizing 𝐂𝐢𝐯 for the great artist that he is.
We do love 𝐂𝐢𝐯.
I feel like 𝐂𝐢𝐯 played a great game at the Civ World Summit on Saturday. I hope people either tuned into that or going to get a chance to watch the stream there. He was who I was rooting for a little bit there. And it came down to a tie, basically, and he lost on the tiebreaker. So not only is he a great artist, but he's a great Civ player, too, and did really well at the Civ World Summit. It was most entertaining. So the question was about the AI in terms of once we get to the point where we have victories that are disabled. So our AI is set up that it has behavior trees and data that's all set up to teach it to channel its play in certain directions. So those are already set up in terms of the way we teach the AI to go for those, to be like a discrete set of data and rules that come as a package. So yes, we're going to have to do a little bit of work in terms of recognizing when things get toggled on and off, but it's definitely something that we're set to handle.
It should work pretty
Awesome.
smoothly. So I'm going to try something here. I'm going to have counter-denounced Napoleon in order to trigger Machiavelli's ability to gain some extra gold, because I would really like a slinger in my capital here. And then hopefully, I won't have to deal with the consequences of Napoleon's seething hatred for Rome.
And what did Napoleon say to your counter?
He accepted.
Okay, so that's worth 50 gold to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That gave me the 50 gold. I don't have the commander 2 turns. Will one of these slingers die in 2 turns if maybe they'll attack the scout. You want to attack the scout, right?
We also just met Harriet Tubman.
Oh, that's true.
We have
You
a
need another leader to fling influence towards to try.
Yes. Now this is someone I do not really want to tangle with in a surprise war, because her war support bonus when going to war with her is quite significant.
No,
so
but isn't it true that Machiavelli ignores the requirements for a surprise?
that is true. He
So
might
you-
be the ultimate
maybe
backstabber.
He's the best foil for Harriet Tubman I think we have in the game.
Well, in that case, we can pretend to be her friend and keep our options open. Play both sides, Machiavelli. I could use some more gold. I might, well, I'm not gonna have to worry about a suzerain. Yeah,
Oh, you just got 50 more.
there we go. It's all coming together. No more coastal discoveries up here, though.
Now we have a question coming in from 𝐂𝐤𝐯. Are there any plans to allow the one more turn option after victory in a modern age?
Absolutely, there are. And I like the way the question is phrased because it actually mirrors what we're thinking. One of the items that we talked about that we're working on right now in the last stream where we listed like post-release plans, and we talked about working on teams in multiplayer and working on hot seat, is that we want to set things up so you can start in any age and end in any age, and also have victories to conclude things no matter what age you're ending in. Right now we have a victory system for modern, but we want to bring one online for antiquity and exploration as well. So what I have been using as the answer for what is one more turn mode going to work like is it's all part of bringing that system online. Whatever age you pick to be your final age that you want to play, and you go through the victories in that age, then there's a one more turn mode at the back end of that age. So yes, probably for a lot of people, they'll first see it at the end of a modern game if they're playing a normal 3-age campaign. But there are also going to be cases where people say, I only want a 2-age campaign. I want to end in exploration. I'll go through the exploration victories that we'll add, and there'll be a one more turn mode waiting for them then.
Very cool.
Right.
Thank you.
We have this. Well, you know, I am fond of pigs. I will choose.
I've heard that before.
That was my ringtone for a little while. When I would get a text, it would just be, I'm fond of pigs.
So here we are. I have my units are unpacked from my unique Roman commander, the Legatus. So one of our objectives is to use this focus fire ability. And so some points of confusion here that people have run into is that while units are packed inside of their commander, they cannot attack. So while they're in here, they will not be able to attack. But once you have deployed them, and unpacking them normally consumes all of their movement unless you have this very handy promotion called Initiative. You are able to use these sort of coordinated orders here that will consume the commander's movement but allow you to do different attacks with a bonus. So it's going to give us a +2 combat strength for the attack and all of the slingers in range. We're going to focus on the same target. Aha.
Very effective.
And that is going to complete one of our objectives. We will say, we're going to set Ed up to see if he's going to be a Caesar. That seems the hardest path to pick there. And what seems the least useful for you? Back to our Roman civics. All right.
So we have another question about crossplay. So right now with patch 2 coming out, which is only out on Steam, the team is hard at work on getting updates out to consoles and restoring crossplay. We don't have a firm date to share right now, but it is absolutely a priority for the team. So just hold tight, and we'll be getting crossplay right back out for you.
Okay, so Tim just completed an objective. It took him 5 turns to do that, so his total score is 7. I am still sitting with a score of 13. So I would love to sort of coordinate 2 objectives and be able to have my score here if I can do that. So if we could pull up the slate of objectives so people could refresh their memory as to which ones we have available to us. That would be cool. So there's our slate of objectives. So we have done the second one, focus fire with a commander. We have done the bottom one, found a Pantheon and build an altar. And we have done the fourth one, reveal a discovery with a scout search. So I think the most likely things are probably number 3, the disperse independent village. The suzerain of a city-state, which is the 9th item, that is also possible. But we'd have to have 2 different city-states to be able to pull off both of those at the same time. So like a double move could be a little tricky.
We have met some other leaders for a trade route if you can get a merchant.
Yeah, we have to get a merchant in place and on the map and figure out where those other leaders live and get it all the way out there, though, because trade routes don't work the same way they did in Civ 6. Now you have to get your merchant, at least in Antiquity and Exploration, traveling all the way to the target settlement that you're going for. So I think what my priorities probably are is I need to look at the possibilities of what we can do with independence. And I think beating off this attack and sending a force up here to possibly disperse them is a great idea, but I need to keep pressing forward with scouts and find either the homelands of some other players or some more independents that might be friendlier so I could quickly suzerain them. I've got some work to do here. I didn't put Tim into quite as much of a pickle as I perhaps was hoping to.
Yeah, it's one of your early game decisions that's kind of interesting is deciding whether or not you want to befriend or disperse the independents that are near you. There's pros and cons to both. Dispersing them will get you a big one-time bonus to some yields. And it looks like there is a friendly independent somewhere
Yeah, we
nearby.
can see the scout.
We can see the
right
scout.
there.
Yeah, this one. Yeah.
All right, so we send out a expedition, we might be able to find them, but right now it looks like you got some other priorities on your plate. So a question from 𝐂𝐢𝐯 Are there plans to add more iterations to the crisis system? I think that it is one of the coolest new features and they're very fun. However, they feel a little incidental at the end of the age with the narrative they're supposed to herald.
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that we would like to look into. Some other things around crises that we would like to start investigating is, we have the disaster intensity slider available during game setup so that people can kind of fine tune how frequent and devastating they like their floods and volcanoes and storms to be. And one idea is that maybe the crisis system could have something similar where you can scale sort of how intense you want that experience to be. And that's, again, something that would be great to get feedback on the Discord and elsewhere to see how people feel about something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a perfect example of the type of feedback we're looking for within our Discord. And then while we go ahead and give out suggestions like you just mentioned, for us to also see how the community engages with such ideas. So keep that type of feedback coming. That was awesome.
All right, so I have 4 independent units, 3 warriors, and a slinger headed towards my city. I only have the 2 slingers and the legatus defending it.
You may have another slinger under there, but
Yeah, I guess
not much.
No, I don't really have much backbone to my army right now.
Yeah, I don't think that one slinger is long for this world either.
So I think I'm actually going to strongly consider spending influence and just keep pumping it into that city-state until I have them friendlier. It seems like, A, it would hit one of my objectives and I could pass the game to you, but it would also kill off the pressure on us. So that's definitely an option. I might wait one more turn to start that. Just let's press this scout on and see if we find a friendlier
Oh, nope.
Nope,
No.
no.
I
not-
spoke
no.
too soon.
Well, actually, I like this though because I can put my influence here,
Right.
make them our friends, and keep the pressure on Tim from Afunato.
Ooh.
So I think that's how we're going to play this. So let's.
Oh, but you're going to have a race with Harriet Tubman.
Oh yeah, you can see
She
Harriet
is
Tubman's already
already working on
almost
it.
halfway done.
We're going to beat her.
We're gonna be all right.
We're going to have to.
You're gonna have
Triple
to
down
put
on
a
this
lot
one.
of a lot of influence on that. But we are making 16 per turn with our base influence, the Machiavelli
And
influence,
so we will,
and our
in
altar.
2 turns, be able to start adding more. So let's see if we can do this. It might.
This is a big gamble.
It is a big game.
Big gamble.
All right. We're going to also see what's happening back here. It's possible that there's nobody left at home defending. So
We can do some special mission flanking maneuver.
yes, exactly. And
Well, production-wise, I set you up with just another Legatus, which
I was gonna
Swap
say
it
that's a
in.
good swap.
yep. And then with the little goddess, let's do some focus fire and take down. One right in
Nice.
the middle.
another promotion.
Got another promotion. Now, the first promotion, while Tim was answering the question, I took was the initiative one that he talked about. But what's nice about this assault tree is there's some ones that boost your combat strength. Let's boost the combat strength of range units, since that's what we're working with right now.
Yeah, and
And we'll
the
go a turn forward.
the Roman unique commander also, once they gain enough experience, can settle towns as well.
Yeah, I believe it's for every 2 promotions they get a charge to go and
it's
settle a
3,
town.
isn't
Maybe
it?
something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe 3.
And we also have met Confucius now. Oh.
君子问智于语，斯为智矣。
Yeah, you definitely can't spend influence
Yeah,
here.
you
now.
gotta save that.
Nope.
Now, another question coming in is, will players be able to change city names, and what about changing commander names?
Yeah, those are both things that we are actively looking into and are hoping to get to everyone as soon as we can.
Now, back to we were talking about the promotions. One of my favorite promotions is in the Bastion line. That makes it to where making fortifications happen within half the time. So you can just do it in 1 turn. And the reason it's one of my favorite is because there's one of the main coordinated orders you can do is defensive perimeter, which tells everyone in all of your ally units
Avoid
to
any
fortify.
specific
And it
discussion
looks
of
very
public
cool to hit the button and just watch all 5 units just
Yeah.
plonk down the fortifications.
Well, something I do sometimes with the Roman commanders is that in their civic tree, they get the bulwark promotion for free, and so sometimes you can sort of go down that green path and get a commendation much faster than you would
Yes.
otherwise. It's one of the masteries.
All right, so you're playing a risk of you're sneaking around.
Yep. To see if I can disperse. I've done pretty well with some focus fire attacks at eliminating some of these onrushing independents.
It's
And
like you're gonna be able to hold out.
I've got quite a few independents
Oh,
chasing this poor
no.
scout, though.
Well, Rome did have some trouble with the independents and tribes in the forests as you're getting ambushed right now.
Oh,
All right,
you're
so
gonna
we're
need it one more
catching
time.
up on Harriet Tubman, but yes, we're going to have to do it at least once more to overtake her there.
Rush. We have a story about a witch.
How close are we to a celebration?
Yeah, this is actually something that people have had trouble seeing as well, and we're going to look into that as well. But the turns till the next celebration you can see here on your government panel.
And so we're 11, getting 11 happiness per turn, 100. So we're basically 110
Yeah, it's a
happiness
third of the way
away
there.
from
Yep.
getting it. So if we choose the more gore option here on the story. It'll basically get us, a third of the current turns cut off
Right.
that we would have to wait. I think I'll actually choose that.
I like that. That's about 3 turns worth of happiness compared to.
Oh, and
wow.
this is
So this is a
perfect.
tough
So-
choice now.
Ooh.
No, it's not, because I need to get that city-state. And so
A codex, though.
I know, but that's a issue
I
for
think,
a future day.
I think Tim's
I
trying
have
to do some
admit,
sabotage.
This event has come up over and over in my games, and I've chosen the codex every time, and I'm like, why would anyone even choose the influence? Well, in a succession game here, where you're trying to pass the baton, and you need influence, that really helps.
That's some clutch. All right, let's see.
So I can once again reduce it.
Oh, you're 1 turn
I'm
off.
1 turn off, but I have 9
you'll get
turns
it.
to get enough influence to do it one more time, so I should be able to squeak by this time.
Chat has said that for renaming commanders, we need an Ed Beach 1st Infantry Division. So,
I think we can go ahead and say that we actually, renaming commanders, obviously players can create whatever names they want. That's cool, that's fun. That's the first thing we're going to do.
Right.
But we've had a lot of fun in previous Civ titles with randomly generated names. I don't think there's going to be an Ed Beach division in the randomly generated names. But I think we could probably come up with some fun ones. So that's sort of down the road. We can see that some type of fun random generation system like we had for the rock bands in Civ 6 might be a lot of fun for the commanders as well. All right, let's continue to
We'll just fight
press
away.
forward with the focus fire attacks.
and the units will do bonus damage when attacking within
Got
that
the
focus
extra
fire, right?
promotion, so we've got the yeah.
Well, would we rather have the commendation, or we don't have any infantry units yet? We don't have any siege, but let's just keep pressing ahead.
Run away!
I'm amazed the scout is still alive. Let's see. One more unit.
Oh, the slinger's stopping your.
I think they've caught on to your plan here.
I know.
Well, let's see if we can sail up the river on our canoe.
Oh
and
no!
sneak
Now
in
you're
behind.
now you're embarked
Yeah,
between
that's
2
gonna be
slingers.
rough.
Yeah, but
See how this goes.
it's a high risk. Oh, the other one moved away.
Mercy.
Oh no!
And now Napoleon has declared war. We don't even know where Napoleon lives, right?
He knows where we live.
All right, so we can open the war details. We could see.
I'm
We
not
don't-
spending.
Yeah, you don't want to
I
spend that
don't
influence.
have that much influence anyways. I've been all spending it on the independent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's made the calculations. Obviously, we have not. So. Now, he's right 1 tile away from our capital. We have to hope there's no big army here, but we haven't seen his homeland, so
You might want to
he must have
rotate
been.
the damaged slinger with the full health one, because the damaged one's on your.
We'll have to attack the walls first. They're
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
I,
true.
I might want to switch my focus fire attack to be
Yeah,
against
that's true.
Napoleon next time.
Well,
All right, and we sneak through here. We took 37 damage. To be able
oh, you could do it.
The next turn, we have a decent chance of dispersing the independent.
Now, Malistrix is asking, are quick movement and combat a map search feature, quality of life improvement that we can hope for to see in the future?
So there's quite a few in there. Quick movement.
Let's talk about that first.
Yeah.
So quick movement, we actually already have underway. We actually have prototyped it and tested it and everything like that. We need to add some optioning to the front end, and we need to do some final testing on it. That one's probably coming in a very near-term patch. Quick combat is, to some extent with our combat system, the animations, once you get into combat, the unit gets slid right there right away, and it's a quick animation. So, if there's a continued call for it, we will absolutely look at it, but we're hoping that the way we've set up the animation system this time, and that because there's animations once you get into combat, so we didn't have to slow down the getting to it as much. So
And that's to show flanking in the game.
right.
Yeah,
So
because
we feel like quick combat's in a little bit different place than it was in previous Civ games. So people should really think through what they feel like that ask is all about.
Yeah, and map search, I would say, falls more in the category of the thing that would be really good to get feedback on, or like what types of things you would want the map search function to do. I think sort of the baseline level is, what
Small
we had in
units,
6.
there's
Oh,
3.
much larger, and his commander is there.
Look at that. They took out my canoeing scout. Did just enough damage to delete him off. So
We need to spend some gold to keep Rome alive.
yeah, where did all these forces? Oh, the commander up
Yeah.
here.
And there's 3
Because
units. Oh,
We have Napoleon matched up with Persia, so they have a unique commander. Yeah, that's a dangerous combination for sure.
now,
he's got war
speaking of
support on
commanders, we have a poll that looks like most people's favorite promotion line is 55% for assault, 9% bastion, 16 logistics, 14 for maneuver, and 6 on leadership. So people really like to go aggressive, and they do not like strong leadership.
We actually, and what's interesting is we get data about what people are selecting as well.
Yep.
So we can take that poll data and we can compare it to what we're seeing in terms of in-game selections. But that's exactly the kind of thing that we want to do in terms of how we want to balance the game. Is we want to take inputs from different sources, see what is, and I'm not sure that it's necessarily a bad thing if that one line is preferred, because
Yeah.
I feel like anywhere that promotion that lets the units unpack,
Pretty strong.
That one's gonna just, everyone's gonna gravitate toward it naturally. But if there's something being underutilized, then that does immediately clue us into that's where we should look to try to rebalance things.
Right. Yeah, I would say don't sleep on the logistics and maneuver lines. Those can get quite powerful.
All right, so I agree. We need to purchase a warrior.
Yeah, so right now we are playing on the, I believe, governor difficulty. So this will be the standard difficulty, and as you can see, the AI can pose quite a threat to our early settlements.
Yeah, we're playing on.
One thing,
on the fact that we're on default difficulty, and I mean, part of it is we are sabotaging our play a bit, or I'm sabotaging Tim's plays, Tim's sabotaging my play, but non-optimal play can get punished for sure.
yeah, one thing to call out there is that you can only buy 1 unit per turn per settlement.
And we have an algorithm set up so we determine where that unit that you purchase goes. So if you have a barracks, it always goes on the tile where the barracks is. I think after that it goes to the city center. But if like that tile's already occupied, like our city center is right now, it'll go to a different urban tile, and that's what happened here. We don't have a barracks. The city center was occupied. It went to the other urban tile.
To clarify real quick, barracks is a military building of the Antiquity Age. So with exploration or modern, it would be military academy. Or whatnot for what would be the later ages. So if you have a barracks still down from antiquity, while in modern, it'll prioritize your military building of that age.
Let's see, you need.
So in 2 turns, I should have enough influence to add yet another point here. And
Unless she adds some too.
yeah, as long as Harriet Tubman doesn't add, I will be out of this pickle in 4 turns, I think. But I'm gonna have to survive 4 turns and then hand it over
Then
to
have to
Tim.
deal with the defense of Rome, and
Yes.
for this will be interesting.
Now, we have a question from Corey13. Is there any chance that we will see the return of loyalty? Civs like to settle on the border and super close, and it gets a lot of competing borders. So is there going to be a return for a non-aggressive style to reclaim such stuff?
I'll let Tim answer this a little bit more, but I would say the first thing we're going to do is really look at what the AI is doing. That needs to be looked into first. We don't want to add a loyalty system just because our AI is a little bit wayward in terms of where it's settling. If we can control it through AI adjustments, I think that's the right first step.
Yeah, that's I think the first tab we're going to take at it is through AI. Again, like all of these, if there's consistent feedback about desire for a loyalty system, that's absolutely something that we can add in a free update. That is, a solution we have used in the past, and we know works.
Right, we're about to get a 𝐂𝐤𝐯 at level 4 with who would have a commendation point. So
Where did Napoleon go?
we've beaten. We beat off I think two of his infantry, and yeah, he has disappeared into the fog of war. But at least
Coward.
half of his force was defeated.
Realized
And-
that they bit off more than they could chew.
Yeah. Let's get a 𝐂𝐤𝐯 in the middle of our forces. And we're healing people up. And it's next turn that we need to re-up on the city-states.
Ooh, will she add more or not?
Now, if it's tied like that, are we going to win it? Or are we going to...
I think you will, because your turn will happen before her turn, but I'm not 100% sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure about
I'm
that
not sure.
because I think this is showing this as on my turn.
Ah,
and
true.
she goes after me.
Mhm.
So I think she'll tick it down to 2. This is a good example for our players. And I'll still be at 3. I'm not going to be able to reduce the, add more support yet another time. I think I'm going to lose this by one
Yeah,
turn.
you're going to get the
Oh,
gift next turn at least, but
Well, you can start working still toward taking down
Dispersing
that
citizen.
one
Yeah.
independent up
right.
top with your
built up a
soldiers.
little army here now.
Now, we went over it earlier, but we're still getting a couple questions on how happiness and celebrations interact and how increasing your happiness interacts with such celebrations. So the way that works is for however more positive happiness you're getting, whether that be from building a happiness building, civ effects, that overflow positive happiness that you see at the top of your screen for all your empire-wide yields, that will build into a pool. Once you reach to the end of that pool, you will get a celebration. Every time you hit a celebration within an age, it'll scale up the cost for the next one, so you're going to need more overflow happiness to start getting into the next one. But yes, the way it works is get a bunch of happiness, enough to overflow your unhappiness to get a celebration.
Yeah, and one bit of nuance that I would add is that negative happiness in a settlement will not count against your progress towards a celebration. Only your positive happiness sum counts. So having a very unhappy town in your settlement's not going to drag down the rest of your global happiness progress. Oh, are you gonna? We have the assault promotion, but if you move now, you're not gonna be able to unpack this turn.
Because of the blocking terrain,
Right.
which is going to kill all my movement. So, yes, I think the best thing to do is to deploy my army in this direction, take the unit that is the lead unit, and have him move towards the independent village. And then have these 2 units try to make sure this guy can't interfere. Now I've got 2 units next to the village. Should be able to take it down next turn, I hope. If the slinger moves there, I might lose one more turn, but we'll see.
Looks like you'll be able to do it.
Okay, and let's check. Yes, as I predicted, Harriet Tubman beat us by 1 turn
Yep.
to the Suzerain City-State. That's what could be a tough objective for us to ever hit in here, because we're just we're having to wipe out this independent. The other one we got beat to by 1 turn.
Now, it's a shame because you almost got 2 in 1 turn, which would have
Yeah.
cut your total in half,
Yes.
which would have been a really good comeback because right now it looks like Tim's pulling ahead.
Yes, I
quite a bit.
added another 13 to my score, which is going to put me at 26. So I definitely need to do a double move at some point here. Now, one reason that we wanted to make sure that this was one of our objectives for today was that we wanted people to be clear that when you disperse an independent, it's not like the way barbarian camps have previously worked in Civ 5 and Civ 6, where you moved onto that tile and they got immediately dispersed. The main reason for that is because the independents have this dual nature to them. Sometimes you want to disperse them, sometimes you want to befriend them. It could be even the case where somebody's trying to disperse them, but you're trying to befriend them and you want to help them fend off that rival military that's trying to take them down. So you want to get on top of their tile to make sure they can't, you know, be taken from you as a city-state. Say that situation where Harriet Tubman just beat us out. If there was a third power coming in there and trying to disperse it, then we would have both been mad at that third power. So we really need it so that it's a deliberate, thoughtful action to disperse them that's not just moving onto the tile. And so that's why we changed it. So with the independent powers, there's the separate unit action here, disperse independent. I will take that right now.
An eye for an eye,
because they were a cultural independent, we got enough civics to unlock Code of Laws. Tim's going to have an option here with the merchant.
There we go. And it gave a bunch of experience to your legatus as well.
He might have been out of range.
No,
he got
the
it.
promotion popped up.
He got it. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
dispersing an independent is very powerful because it grants a lot of yield based off of the IP you're dispersing, as well as a large sum of XP for your commanders. It's a great early way to start building up that experience and get a snowball going before you go and invade a nearby civilization.
And I'll be nice and leave the attributes points and the commander promotion for Tim to spend. I've been playing for a bit here. So it wants us to know that we have those, but we don't have to spend them right away. Let's regroup around the legatus. Notice Legatus does have a settlement icon because he's up at level 4. He's for every 3 levels he gets a settlement charge. So that's Tim's got lots of options here.
Right.
Might be worth building up some impromptu fortifications within the settlement.
We are turning it back to Tim in our succession game.
Alrighty. So Tim, now that you got your hands back on the controls, you do have a pretty strong lead and a couple options. What do you think you're going to go for?
Yeah, I mean, looking at our score sheet here, we still need to start a trade route. We need to get some progress going on a legacy path, set a town focus, capture another settlement, place a specialist, and then we just failed at becoming a suzerain, so that seems out of reach at the moment. But we can take a look at our legacy paths and see if there's anything that seems doable. We have these handy next steps right here, tell us how to do things, and then if we ever want to track one, we can track progress on here. So we can see we would need 2 wonders to achieve this, and it says some of the first steps here would be to, most wonders are on civics and some are on techs nodes, and so that will unlock the ability to start building those wonders. Our military one, we haven't settled anything. We've made no progress here, but we do have 4 out of 4 military units. We could assemble a full army and get this going potentially. And the Great Library.
I turned down the codex.
You turned down a codex. That's going to be tough to do. Maybe we don't track that one. Maybe we abandon that all hope there. And Silk Roads, we could do this. We have a merchant. We can create a trade route. We know other people exist. We haven't found their settlements yet, but we can get that merchant moving around, exploring the map, and trying to find somebody to trade with. So that
And there is that city-state that is now fully developed. That
we can trade and get some elephants here.
Have they improved the elephant?
Yeah, it looks like
they
they
have.
did. Elephant.
Okay. They're all set for trade.
Right, so if we,
That's what we're saying.
this could be very quick.
Yeah.
I could get out of this jam quite quickly,
Although there are
potentially.
a lot of mountains on your side of that
Yeah, that's
city-state.
going to take a while. So that's
It's gonna-
quite a ways, at least 5 turns to get over there, it seems. You could explore and maybe hope for a faster path here, but there's probably
Yeah, it looks like there's a
mountains there,
lake
too.
right there
Yeah.
that you'd cross through.
Yeah, let's go the safe route. And so in order to start a trade route, as we see when we select our merchant, we'll see a list of possible trade routes. This is the only one that we know of because it's the only other settlement that we have visibility
And
to.
people need to look at this interface carefully. Yeah, it does kind of remind some people of the Civ 5 or Civ 6 trade route selector. But if you look at it, it says possible trade routes, and it says send your merchant to a city. That's why those tiles are highlighted green. Those are the tiles that you have to move your merchant into in order to get the trade route going there.
Right. And the range at which this is a land trade route, sort of by default in antiquity, that range is about 10 tiles. So we need a 10 tile path from our city center to their city center. So there are other ways to increase your trade range. As you increase your trade range, more and more options will be filled out here as you explore and discover other settlements. So we can kind of see that now that we've cleared out, one other nice thing about dispersing independence is that they tend to be on pretty nice spots to settle. And you can't settle within 3 tiles of them normally until you disperse them. So that's another consideration for why you might want to disperse an independent. And we could use we have fresh water here on this river, and we could get our town up
And
and
that's
running.
something the legatus can do that a settler can't do. He can settle from 1 tile away. Tim
Right.
just showed that because that flower of 7 tiles, the green highlights, showed you where he could pick to settle. So that's a super handy feature of the legatus.
Yeah, so we've got some gold up here. That's not going to help us towards our Silk Roads victory because that's a empire resource and not a slottable resource. We need resources that can go in these slots, which are always these city resources, which have this little blue icon here, or a bonus resource, which we don't have any of yet, that have a different icon. And city resources can only go in cities, and bonus resources can go in either cities or towns. And empire resources don't get slotted at all. They just have a general effect that is helping everyone.
We have some pillaged resources. Why did we not have any from?
We've got this empire resource that we haven't improved
We
it
haven't
yet.
improved it yet. Okay.
So we just have our silk, and we haven't improved. This is a city resource as well, so we can start making progress there. We have a growth event. Gold is so good. We're definitely getting gold. If you see gold in the map, just get the gold. Don't worry about it. It's
Iron's pretty good
Yeah.
for a normal Roman build when you're really
Right.
focusing on legions and you have a lot of infantry forces.
Yeah, this is one thing that's cool. We're kind of in the early Republic still, and you can see that's kind of reflected that we don't actually have the legions just yet, visually and otherwise. Oh,
He's
is
very
this-
low.
are we
One thing
gonna-
you can do is
It's a major victory. Let's try it. Worst case, I won't be in charge anymore. Right? Yeah.
There you go.
okay.
now something you could do to avoid taking
Now,
damage.
notice you only gained 1 experience from that. That's
Right.
another thing we want to probably explain to people is that commanders get experience from independence at full strength right out of the gate, but there's a point where they stop being able to earn a ton of experience. They kind of know how to fight independence by now, and so it ends up being 1 experience point per combat a lot of times. Now, major things like dispersing at camp will still give you a big burst of experience, but you just can't level your commanders up to levels 5, 6, 7, and so forth very easily until you start fighting another major power.
So now that we have another settlement down, and we're looking at getting a trade route going with a nearby settlement, can we get an explanation on the inner workings of things like roads, railroads, as well as maybe some sea-based trade routes?
Yeah, this is a great thing to talk about here. So we can kind of see right now, 𝐂𝐢𝐯 is a growing town. So when a town is first founded, it will always be a growing town until it reaches 7 population. You can make that population grow faster by adding buildings. Each building is 1 urban population. Once we get to 7 total population, we will be able to choose a special town focus. And right now we can see that our food is going to growing our town, and we have increased town growth. And yes, we did fix the growth bug, so that does not stack anymore. Once we do have a town focus set, however, all the food in this town is going to get sent down this road to Rome. And it will get sent to any city that it is directly connected to. So if we had a different town over here with a road to here, and then this road to here, this town would not be able to feed Rome. We would need to use a merchant. Merchants have another ability that can build roads between settlements as well.
Because we need all roads to lead.
To all roads must
Yes.
lead to Rome before it can feed Rome. Now, if the settlements are coastal and on the same continent, which you can use this continent lens to be with, then they will also be connected. So if I had founded this up to here and Rome was connected to this river, then as long as they're on the same continent, they'll always feed each other that
And
way.
if you need to check into the details of exactly where someone's food is going, that panel that Tim was showing where you
Right.
open up the town and look at the details panel to see where the food is going, that's your place to check this.
Yeah, so one of our goals that we need to hit in this game is to set a town focus, and once that happens, that food, we'll be able to see that food going into Rome and really speeding things up.
Now we have a question from Exposed Shadow. How do factory resources work in the modern age? From what I saw, it's one slot from a factory when I will have many factory resources.
That's true. I'll let Tim play and I'll take this question. So by the time you get to a modern city, you do only gain one additional resource from the factory, but the slots that already existed there can be applied to the factory. So typically once a town or a city gets that factory in modern, what I do is I usually flush out its other resources. That town becomes all about making chocolate bars or orange juice or whatever it's up to. I get that factory going and pretty much slot as many slots as I can with the factory resources, because that's how you're going to get to the Railroad Tycoon through that legacy path as fast as possible. You have also other buildings in the modern age that can give you slots beside the factory. If it's a coastal building, I think doesn't the port
The
give,
port
the
gives
port
you-
gives
port.
you more slots. So look at all your options in terms of the buildings and which ones give you slots. And typically, remember that the capital city also always has 2 more slots than any other city. And so I end up like whatever factory resource I have the most of, that's probably going to go into my capital's factory. All those bonuses you're getting from the factory resources producing are empire-wide bonuses. So it doesn't really matter, am I making chocolate in my capital? Am I making it in this more provincial town? You just want to size things up based on how many slots you have available there, so that the resources that you have a ton of copies of go in the cities or factory towns that have the most slots, and the resources where you only have a couple of them can go into one of your sort of
Smaller,
less
like
slot-
factory towns.
Yes, exactly.
such. Yeah, and so it's important to remember that all of the resources have to be that same resource when slotting in that settlement. So if you have
You found Napoleon's wayward
5
commander.
chocolate,
He's
you
up
have to
there
put all
still.
5 chocolate in the same settlement.
Although now our silks are going to get pillaged, so we kind of got to go deal with that. You're not a threat right now, Commander.
All right, so how's it going here?
This is an interesting decision point. I've seen this story chain play out before, and I've actually seen this happen where, depending on your choices, we can have the Republic fall and turn into a despotism, and so it'll actually change the government
Really?
as well. Yeah.
No idea we had a chain that did that. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't actually remember exactly which choices, but I feel like if I just support the army, then it might happen. Let's
Now,
see.
we have a shout out from Paisley Trees for our narrative team for making such incredible and dynamic narrative pop-ups, rewards, and stories, and that they feel like that it gets a little overlooked as a team.
I honestly, saw some of the stories, and they're the ones where it's like you have to look at multiples of 7, and it takes 7 to certain. There's some math that has to be done. What I love about it, and I didn't appreciate how much this was true when I first started engaging with the system, is how all those stories come from some type of historical reference. So it's either some scroll or a tablet or something that where those people from that historical empire actually documented something that they were concerned with, that they were fascinated with, and those are the types of examples that our narrative team has used to bring these stories. So it's not just, oh, this sounds fun, this is my own personal. These are references pulled from history, which makes it much more lively and rich in my view.
I agree.
Absolutely. So here we are. It took me 5 turns to get here, but my merchant has arrived.
I think it's 6 because
6 turns?
yeah,
Okay.
with 33 of us there, I'm going to make sure your
Fair
score
enough.
goes up by
That's,
every point possible.
Yeah, it's really trying to squeeze in the
Yeah,
extra
we gotta-
points.
But this is another point where once your merchant gets here, similar to how when your unit gets on the independent village, you do have to use this make trade route action in order to actually make the trade route. So once I do this, it's going to make a road connecting us up to Rome.
And the reason we have an explicit action like that is sometimes you want to trade with a city that might not be the closest one to you. You might walk past a city that has 1 resource to get to a city that has 2 or 3. We wanted to be explicit that, yeah, I really want to trade route to this city because it's these resources locally being provided here that I want a copy of back home.
Yeah, and we can see that this built the road back to Rome, and there is some interesting interplay there because we talked about how, when this town is connected by a road. So if we were to go and conquer this city-state, it will already have a road back to Rome and be able to start feeding Rome as well. So there is some interplay there between those systems, but that's back over to Ed.
All right, so
right.
6 more to Tim's score. He's at 13. I'm at 26. You can see if I had halved my
If you
score last
halved-
time,
well, you still
we'd-
can have it.
we'd be neck
Yeah.
and neck. So yeah, I
And-
still need to look for an opportunity to have my score.
And even though Tim is in the lead, it is still 57 on Twitch in favor of Ed.
Wow, that's such
43.
confidence. I don't
Wow.
know that I agree
Twitch
with
is
that.
really
They
pushing
know
for
something
Ed.
I don't know. But, okay, so now we need to maybe evaluate how far we are from the 5 remaining objectives. So again, one of them is a legacy path. The economic legacy path, we still have 6 more resources to gather to finish that. I think that's probably still the most achievable, though, because we're 4 towns and 3 codices and 3 wonders away. So.
Capturing a settlement counts for 2. So if
Yeah.
you
That's true.
can if you can capture a settlement and have that trigger the legacy path milestone on the same turn,
Yeah,
that could work.
We'd
I
have to
think you
capture
need-
2 to get
Yeah.
to the legacy
and you wouldn't
path.
be able
Yep.
to capture or settle it.
But it's
You need to-
definitely a consideration here at some point. Placing a specialist. Now, specialists unlock with currency on antiquity. We're 17 turns away from currency, so that's still pretty far out. Obviously, setting a town focus is the one that, or suzerain of a city-state. We still don't have a good opportunity for that. I think setting the town focus is the clear winner here. And I'm at population 3. It's population of
7.
7 that I need.
Specialize
But every time I put down a building, and I can do that with gold,
it. Yep.
that's going to boost my population. So I think that's what I'm going to try
Well, especially if you get a granary down.
first. That gives me
Yeah.
more food. The other thing to keep in mind is we do have a gold resource, so that's going to give us 20% extra gold towards purchasing buildings. So I was very appreciative when Tim snagged the gold resource here. Let's bite off the,
He's packed. Yeah.
yeah. No, he's just used his movement.
Right.
Did you finish your
I
turn?
have not yet.
Okay.
So we'll just,
Nope.
we'll
So
click
should-
to end it. There you go. I think that's the only thing left, yeah.
So we have a question from Raging Wolf. Is there a plan to improve the quality of life of the resources menu? An example would be having cities at the top would be a big help.
Really just a lot of UI quality of life stuff in general is something that we're looking at, and I certainly think that we'll also definitely be looking at the resource screen and seeing what improvements we can make there. I know, for example, the banner up at the top letting you know that you can only reassign your resources on turns where you gained a new resource or gained a new slot is a little confusing.
Tim's talking about this in the upper right-hand corner.
Yeah, people kind of miss that a lot, and that can lead to a lot of confusion. So we're going to try to do some things in the short term to clarify some things around here and improve the quality of life there, for sure.
Okay, this other warrior's packed.
But you do have initiative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
But
enemy?
the goddess has moved.
The
Commander
Gladiatus is
packed
moved,
up?
so you can't unpack, right?
Okay. We have no defenses in Rome, but I'm going to save my gold for buying buildings up here and trying to set the town focus. Once again, not playing optimally for Rome, playing more optimally for Ed, but let's buy a granary. And
So we have a question from Marappa. Do roads affect the movement of units?
Yes.
In what way do they help speed them up, ignore the terrain difficulties, bit of both?
They are not going to ignore the terrain, but they do speed up your movement.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, no, and they negate any terrain penalties you have.
Okay.
So, you know, even if you're coming off of a tile that has woods in it, but moving onto a road tile, that's always considered a move that, that you can make.
Right. Bridges are another consideration where bridges across a navigable river will allow you to cross the navigable river without stopping.
Now, I'm short gold in terms of boosting the population of my town. I'm going to go back to the Machiavelli well.
Oh, and
And
see if we can use your influence.
some more influence to try to get some gold out of these other people. So, obviously, Napoleon is still at war with us. And, we can propose peace. Let's
Yeah.
see if it's time for
We are
peace.
suffering some war weariness. He will not accept. We have to give up our town. I don't think.
No, we're not interested in
So
that.
we got Confucius and Harriet Tubman still.
All right, so let's try for open markets with Confucius. Ah, there's 50 gold.
Nice.
And with Harriet Tubman, try a local festival. She supports it, so we get extra food, but we don't.
You can improve trade relations as well. And that's normally you can only
Yeah, for
trade
happiness.
one route with a player at a time, but you can repeat that improved trade relations action as many times as you want with that player and have
And
more
if
routes.
she accepts it, that's going to give me
Yeah,
50 gold as
right.
well. So you're right. So,
There it is.
and we could do it with Confucius. So now
Nice.
we're up to 268 gold.
Would that work with open borders as well?
Yes, for Machiavelli. Yeah.
And open borders is cheap.
Yeah, that's, I believe, 10, 16.
Yeah.
That is a really good conversion of
So
gold
we're
influence.
showing, yes, how Machiavelli can get paid off in spades here. All right, so let's purchase some more buildings. We'll keep going with the cheap 120 buildings.
That altar would give more influence, though, for more gold.
Now we're up
One
to,
turn away.
yep. We need to, and which settlement are they worried about? They're worried about Rome.
Yeah, with the commander packed up right there. Oh, and the city-state units coming in.
All right, so what we're going to do is take the legatus who's here. He's going to start marching towards Rome with his warrior. The slinger is going to have to protect 𝐂𝐤𝐯 on its own, which it seems to be doing fine with. And this legatus is just going to fortify in the center of Rome. We're going to advance one more turn. Grow our town gloriously.
Put on as much food as you can get. Food and production.
And now the town specialization is available. And so, Tim, why don't you walk us through some of the choices on town specialization, since you were one of the system designers who worked a lot on this system.
Right, so things about towns. So first, all of your production is getting converted into gold all the time, regardless of whether you have a focus or not. But while you are a growing town, your food will go towards growing your town. But once you have any of these town focuses chosen, your food will get sent to any connected cities. So it's sort of based on what you have going on in that town. So if we take a look at the town and see what kind of improvements we have in it, we have a lot of mines. So it's in a lot of forests nearby. This seems like it's kind of set up to be a mining town.
And I will be nice to Tim. Town focus, one of the things to note about it, it's permanent for the age.
Yes.
So if I was playing nasty in my console role and I picked a bad town focus, Tim would never be able to change it.
Right.
So we're gonna go ahead and
there's really no bad town focus. They're all pretty good. And you will get a chance to reassign them in the next stage.
All right, so now that that's a town focus, it's converting. All that production is going into gold. All of the mines and lumbers grant even more production.
And this
the
was
food
definitely
is being sent to the city.
my most successful cycle because I only took 3 turns to get here. So I have a score of 29. Tim has a score of 13.
Now,
and on turn 42, we're passing it back to Tim.
Right, some fancy diplomacy from
now
Machiavelli.
we do only have about 5 minutes left of reserved for gameplay, so there's probably not too much that we're going to be able to get done within this next one. So we can go ahead and play a little bit, or we could roll out into what some of the stuff players can expect post-release, as well as ways they could engage with. We could engage with the community on feedback through our Discord and such, if we want to go into that.
Well, why don't we spend a couple minutes just talking about the last 4 options in terms of making sure we explain what we thought was confusing about them, even if we aren't going to reach them in the stream today. Right. I think we should go through the pain points or the confusion that the community is seeing and making sure that is understood. So the first one is a legacy path milestone. And I think the big thing to remember here is whether or not you choose to track progress. Tim showed us the track progress button before. The track progress puts the information that the advisor is telling you about the next step out onto the screen on the left-hand side. But remember that even if you haven't had track progress on, or that you're just turning it on now, the information here keeps up with the game. I've seen players who've been worried about, I just got an Explorer in Modern. I haven't had the Cultural Advisor on. I don't know what to do with that Explorer. You know, don't fret. Besides the Civilopedia, which has a lot of good information, sometimes even more timely information can be found here on this age progress screen, where the advisors are really telling you about what the next step to do is.
Right. And I will also note that completing these quests does not, in and of itself, score you points on the legacy path. These are just going to help point you in the right direction towards what to do.
Like, you don't need the 4 out of 4
Sometimes they will,
military
sometimes they
units.
won't.
Right.
Like Construct a Wonder
will score you the points. Yep.
But assembling the army, that's just sort of
That's how
a
you're going to
necessary
take
step
to
making military progress.
Yep.
Okay, so the next one is capture a settlement. Are there any aspects of capturing a settlement that we think have been confusing people we want to explain?
So things about settlements, you have to capture all the fortified districts in a settlement to capture it. So here, this example only has 1. The city center is always fortified. So if we just capture the city center here, we would capture the settlement. Rome right now only has the city center and the palace, but if we were to build walls here in this urban district, then Napoleon would need to capture both of these districts in order to actually capture the settlement.
And remember that your walls always have to first be placed around your city center.
Right.
And then they can spread out from the city center, just sort of the way your urban parts of your city grow. So you can make some strategic decisions about, wow, you know, there's a cliff here, or this is behind a mountain. If I can get some walls over to that, it's going to make it really hard for my city to be taken, especially if you're playing multiplayer. You know, think about those things, because sometimes they might make it really, you know, uninviting for people to come and try to take your cities from you.
Yeah. There's an extra rule with walls where walls from one settlement cannot be placed adjacent to walls of a second settlement, and that's to keep visually it clear which districts for that settlement you need to capture. So you can't sort of merge the walls together and make it confusing as to what you need to grab. So if you ever see a point where you're like, why can't I build a wall here? That might be it.
And actually, I see a question from chat that I actually want to take real quick, because it's another, like, explaining things that aren't apparent at first. The question is, how do we connect settlements that don't automatically get roads? That's from Cisco 904. And so Tim is going to purchase a merchant for us real quick. And the merchant, once he's got some movement on the next turn, we can show that there is another button that's different than the trade route button. That's the build road to settlement button. And like Tim was saying, if there was a third city to the, you know, southwest of 𝐂𝐢𝐯, maybe it connects to 𝐂𝐂�ou𝐯, but we want to give it a direct route to Rome. This is the type of thing we can send that merchant to that city and have him connect back to Rome. The merchant can be on either endpoint, and that button will light up, and then you just click on a lit up tile in the other endpoint settlement, and the road is formed.
Yeah, the Mandarin unique merchant actually gains special bonuses when using this action to connect your settlements.
So if you ever play as the Ming, you'll want to learn how that works quite quickly, because it's very, very powerful for them. You can accumulate gold, sort of like what I did with Machiavelli just now. Placing a specialist is our next to last item that we wanted to make sure we told people about. So Tim, do you want to give a little bit of information about specialists?
Right, so specialists will only get unlocked after researching currency in antiquity, or anytime you sort of start a game in exploration or modern. When you grow a settlement and you have a growth event, you'll be able to either improve one of your rural tiles or place a specialist on top of a urban tile. By default, it'll give you +2 science and +2 culture, but -2 food and -2 happiness. It will also gain you half of the total adjacencies of that tile. So this is where the adjacency game really gets important, and you can see the Enlightenment victory path in exploration. Achieve 40 yields on a single tile in multiple cities, or on multiple tiles. And initially, always, like, when you first see it, you're like, how in the world can you get 40 yield on one tile? And specialists, that is how. So you really want to stack these adjacencies up and then pile specialists onto your adjacency. There is a specialist cap in antiquity. By default, it's 1. And that is the number of specialists that are allowed to be on any given tile before you can place another specialist on the same tile. So the science victory in exploration is all about unlocking more specialist cap through the tech tree, so that you can pile more specialists onto a single tile.
There are wonders like Encore Watt
Yes,
that give you additional specialist tab.
Yeah,
and that
is a antiquity wonder, and that's something you can do to kind of set you up for exploration also, is making sure you get down here and building Angkor Wat in exploration.
It's going to help, build it in antiquity, because it will help your exploration game. You'll get to that science legacy path very, very quickly.
And I believe you can only put specialists on a full quarter, right? Or can it be any district?
It can be any urban tile.
You're going to get to the 40 yield, you're probably
On the
going to have to
quarters,
have a
yeah.
full quarter there with both buildings in place. But you can anticipate that. You could get the growth of that and say, this is going to be one of the tiles I'm going to shoot for the science victory with. Sort of pre-place, assess specialists before the second building comes online. I love to do it with like my unique quarter buildings. If I'm playing Exploration Civ with a unique quarter, those are great places to push for the 40 total yield in the
Yeah,
tile.
and when we're talking about age transition, it is important to note your adjacencies on your non-ageless buildings will not carry over into the next age. But your ageless buildings, like your unique quarters, do carry over. So building your unique quarters and getting specialists on those is another way to really sort of set yourself up for success in exploration during antiquity.
And there have been questions about whether or not specialists could carry over across age transition. That's something we're looking into.
Right.
We do feel like that's kind of a cooler way to reward specialist play if we do let them carry over. So once we finish doing some more testing on that, we may actually be unlocking that as one more thing that carries over from one age to another.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right, so the last thing on our list was becoming suzerain of a city-state, but I think we kind
We
of...
showed how not to do that.
We should not to do it by a single turn. And that I could have halved my score. I could have been
Yes,
competitive
it
with
was so
Tim.
close.
But I missed that just barely, so it was a good try. But
Yeah, that would've-
Tim gets to wear the crown one more
All
time.
right, where's our
Would've been about
we have a
tie.
professional crowner. Go on in.
Oh,
Congratulations, Tim.
People might recognize.
yes.
A major upset. Twitch
There we are.
probably fuming. YouTube on top again. Tim is 2-0.
Yeah. I think I need laurels instead.
Yeah.
That would be more appropriate.
Our Emperor Tim. All right, and that'll conclude our gameplay for today, but we have some more things that we can go ahead and talk about, such as other things that we can expect for players to be seeing post-release, as well as how to engage with various conversations, feedback, and what they can expect in the more immediate time frame, as well as the further down
I
the
think
line.
we should probably revisit some of the things we went over earlier, just reminding people that we have a Discord channel.
Yep.
And if they go and use the QR code that's there, they can get a link to go directly to it, sign up for it. There are Firaxis devs who are reading everything on there avidly. We're going to be jumping in and engaging and having discussions and answering questions on there. So just like we can take questions, we only take a few questions in chat during the live streams, but this will be a way for us to get involved even more deeply. We can also put back up the roadmap, and we can talk about that. We've talked about the roadmap in the previous live streams, but if we can get the roadmap graphic up, we can see this is the same graphic as we showed a couple weeks ago when we had the previous stream, but already the first two milestones here on the left-hand side are things that have occurred because today is Global Launch Day and we're actually on February 11th. So yay to all of the Civ community. This is a huge, huge day for us. In March, we have a bunch of things coming up. Tim, do you want to talk a little bit about what's coming up in March?
Right. So in March, we have the Crossroads of the Worlds DLC. Everybody who got one of our sort of upgraded editions is going to have that already as soon as it comes out. So that's 2 new leaders, 4 new civs, more new natural wonders. That's Carthage, Great Britain, Bulgaria, Nepal, Simon Bolivar, Ada Lovelace, and that's all of our sort of paid content coming in March. There will also be lots of free updates, though, and I know we talked about the 1.10 major update. We did pull some of that forward into February, and we might pull more into February. We'll see. But there's still a lot of changes and content in there that, and we have whole new live events similar to the ones that have been going on in Civ 6. This new natural wonder, the Bermuda Triangle, will be coming in early March. So there's still a lot of stuff free coming in early March for updates, and then another patch in late March with 1.11 We'll have yet another live event, and Mount Everest will be coming into the game. That is a really cool ability. We saw the mountain natural wonder in our game.
Tourist still paying.
Yep, and it's got a very cool effect on Mount Everest. So we're really excited about seeing people get that content in their hands and what they do with it.
And I just want to continue to thank our players. We got lots of feedback coming in, but do not be hesitant about sending us feedback, whether it's on Discord, whether it's in one of the forums. We're monitoring all that. It's all very, very useful to us. Some things we can deal with immediately. So like Tim said, there were some things we had queued up to put into the 1.10 major update, but we had already tested them. We knew that we could release them immediately. That's what happened with a lot of the updates for patch 2 this week. There's some things that take a little bit longer. Obviously, we're getting a ton of feedback on things that are confusing in the UI, areas we need more information in the UI. So the UI is a big emphasis right now. Some of those adjustments take a little bit more time, but we have different levels of UI teams working on short-term fixes, working on medium-term fixes. There's tons of activity going on in that area. We're going to continue to emphasize that. This is not only are you building something to believe in and building a civilization to stand the test of time, but that's exactly how we feel about our game. We're really happy with the response that we've had from the community. A lot of people have been very bold and thrown themselves in, and we restructured the way a Civ works. We broke it up into chapters called ages. Those were dramatic changes. A lot of people are already finding that those are really interesting and fun, and that they finish more games. But obviously, it's a big adjustment period, so bear with us, because we totally believe in this approach, but it's going to take a while for it to be as perfected as maybe Civ 6 was when we wrapped up with it.
Right, and I do want to give a special shout out to our modding community that we haven't released any modding tools yet. We are barely supporting them. We haven't gotten Steam Workshop up and all of that stuff. There are things that we do want to have coming, but it's day 0 launching and they have mods ready to go. I've seen some True Earth Start maps that look really promising, some cool UI mods. So they're doing, we have such an amazing community.
We do.
So,
and maps is a great thing to mention. That's one other area that we're actively working. Right now, our maps are a little bit skewed towards the balanced multiplayer experience. Mm-hmm. And what the feedback is telling us is people really like this sort of more organic, less predictable maps, especially when they're playing single player and you're not as concerned with everyone getting a fair start. That's a whole bunch of the map technology is based on what we did in Civ 6. We have that ready to go. So it's not going to take us long to roll out some maps that are meeting players' expectations, and that's something that's getting underway right now as well.
Yep.
All righty. Well, thank you two very much for joining us. I hope you had fun, and congratulations, Tim, on your astounding victory, continuing your reign as victor in these games. And thank you all.
Might have to get Carl to bring
Carl to break the game. So thank you all very much for joining us today, and thank you all for being the best fans in gaming. Civ 7 has released on all platforms, and you can check it out now. Build something you believe in. Thanks for joining us.